What's the best line on the tube map for connecting London's parks? I mean, for a colossal megacity, we're pretty well blessed with green spaces. And my recommendation for getting between all this greenery, an overground line looking resplendent in its new colour, it's blue. It's blue. Missed a trick there. Today I'm taking the Mildmay line from Gospel Oak to Richmond to show you some of my favourite green spaces in London. Along the way I'll help to build a high-speed railway, I'll give Rory McIlroy a run for his money, and I'll be quintessentially British by standing in a massive queue. Yeah, so what that's about is queuing is a stereotypically British activity, but here I'm at Kew Gardens, so it's actually a play on words. Okay, have a nice video, bye. But I'm starting my day here in Hampstead Heath, a delightfully rugged expanse with all manner of woods, ponds and trails. To give you a sense of how big it is, I'll use the internationally recognised arbiter of scale, the London bus. You could fit every single London bus into Hampstead Heath about 13 times over. But please don't do that, because people actually need to use those, okay? We can't just park them all here. I've just come from Parliament Hill, which has a fantastic view over the city. However, I am now a bit sweaty, so if only there was an air-conditioned train I could cool off in. Before I head in to start my journey, check out this lovely mosaic roundel outside the station, a piece of art made by the community for the community. There's a fair few of these scattered around the Suffragette line, which starts here at Gospel Oak, and the Weaver line, but we're not going in that direction, so this is the only one we're going to see today. At Hampstead Heath station, you don't even need to head into the Heath to see Greenery. Just behind the eastbound platform, there's the tiny World Peace Garden, which opens at weekends. Why not tie your hopes for the world to the wishing tree? I really want Crossrail 2 to happen, and World Peace of course. From potted plants to a potted history of this line. Much of the route predates the Metropolitan Railway. Check out the first journey of the month for more on them, with the stations I'm currently travelling between opening in 1860 as part of the then North London Railway. By the way, Frognall has to be one of the greatest names to appear on the tube map, surely. Talking through all of the permutations of how the North London Railway changed over the centuries would take a video in itself, but safe to say it's seen a lot of change. Bits of the route were closed and later reused by the DLR, the Windrush line and the Elizabeth line. For more evidence of the complexity of London's rail history, I have to mention the rather unhinged situation of having 3 separate West Hampstead stations, one on Thameslink to the north, one on the Jubilee line to the south, and this overground station in the middle. I mean, they're all overground, but only this one is the overground. Keep up. And then the overground came to be in 2007, following a succession of services with names like Crosstown Link Line, Crosslink, and Silverlink. I'd like to reassure any viewers with a train line to name, you don't have to include the word link, I think. Then of course last year the overground lines were named, and this route became the Mildmay line. Named after the Mildmay Hospital in East London, which specialises in caring for those with HIV and AIDS. But I think you'd probably worked that out. Now, I'm sorry to say in an episode about green spaces that the only Mildmay station to have the word park in its name does not have a park of that name nearby. What? So you're just gonna have to make do with the charming Queen's Park. How delightful. So cute. So pristine. And if that wasn't enough, another station's already taken the name. Bit rude. Now I'm taking a quick detour from Kensal Rise station to check out one of London's so-called Magnificent 7 cemeteries, because in Kensal Green Cemetery there's a tomb to some transport pioneers, the Brunels. Isambard was the engineer responsible for the Great Western Railway from London to Bristol, Paddington Station, and most notably for this episode about the Overground, the Thames Tunnel, a project led by his father Mark. This tunnel under the Thames in East London was the first in the world to be built under a navigable river. And whilst originally it only carried foot traffic, in 1869 the first train ran through it. The last train travelled through it about 3 minutes ago, and the next one will probably be in a minute, because today we know it as the Windrush line. From Victorian to 21st century engineering, Willesden Junction isn't blessed with too many green spaces, but nearby there's a giant space of a different kind. This is the site of what will be one of the biggest stations in the country, Old Oak Common. This vast expanse of earth will one day be served by High Speed 2, Elizabeth Line and Great Western Main Line trains.
You know, many years this scheme's been planned and thought about. The box itself is 850 metres long. You know, you could lie the Burj Khalifa down in it, that's what I like to say. So it's massive. It's the biggest underground station structure we'll have in the UK. We have now dug all of that out. We took all of that soil away through conveyors and through lots of different movements on the railway. Most of it has gone to backfill different areas of like reusable space in the UK. So there's quarries that have been backfilled, there's habitats being built for wildlife.
How are you going to deal with building the station around that working railway?
It's one of the biggest challenges we have. It's like open heart surgery. You know, that route from Paddington down to the southwest is one of the busiest train lines in and out of London currently, so we have to make sure we keep that open as much as possible.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is building 8 new platforms that sort of sit in that corridor. We have to do it in 2 key phases where we build some of the platforms offline, divert the trains through, so you'll be going past but you won't stop, and then we'll build the other bit on the other side and connect it all together.
What I really want to know is there anything I can do to help?
Well, there is one thing actually.
And this is really important, yeah? This is going to help HS2. Well, that was a lot of work. I need to chill out, and nothing calms me down like a chance to demonstrate my sporting prowess. So I've come to putt in the park. The park in question being Acton Park, which is right next to Acton Central Station. And right now, I'm Acton too. Acton the part of a man who's bad at mini golf. It's just Acton, bro. Just Acton. Come on. No. I'm doing it for the bit. That was deliberate. Yes. Oh. We've got a jump on this one. You don't get that on the overground. For obvious safety reasons. Yes! Yeah. No. An easy finish. Exactly as intended. So here we are, the final hole. There is a tantalising golf ball shaped gap here, but then there is a big water hazard here. The smart move would be to go around. We're not doing the smart move. Ha 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 ha! Very nearly wiped out my camera. Okay, so that is a very respectable 115 points, and I think it's the highest score that wins, I think. Can't have people thinking I'm too good. I'm fine with it, actually. Between South Acton and Gunnersbury, rail tracks on 3 sides close off a portion of land that's now been reclaimed as a nature reserve. The Gunnersbury Triangle is home to a range of wildlife, from newts to woodpeckers, from stag beetles to strange men making documentaries about railways. And they could be anywhere. Crossing the Thames, Kew Gardens doesn't disappoint, whether that's the charming station or the Royal Botanic Gardens. This World Heritage Site is a botanist's paradise, and quite frankly, you could spend the whole day here easily. But I'm here to see their newest garden. This is the Carbon Garden, which I'm actually very fond of because I'm a carbon-based life form myself. It's kind of for me. Okay, fine, it's for you as well.
The Carbon Garden allows us to celebrate the carbon cycle and carbon as an element. It gets lots of bad press at the moment, and also looks at nature plants and fungi and how together they are really good carbon stores.
What have you learned in the process of creating this new garden?
This garden over here, which stretches across, is based on the climate stripe diagram, so there's lots of herbaceous plants from the blues right through to the reds. I obviously love the mushroom, and we've tried really hard to make sure that we've really considered low embodied carbon in making that. It's made from larch and stone, and the canopy's made from flax and resin. We think perhaps in 2050, if we keep going on the trajectory we're going, most of Britain, and particularly in London, will be very similar climate to Barcelona. So the plants that are planted there are types of plants that we would expect to be able to survive in a climate like that. And the trees that we've planted here can withstand the extreme heat waves that we've seen recently, particularly this summer.
I feel like the message of this garden aligns really nicely with low carbon transit, such as, I don't know, trains. And so to the end of the Mildmay line at Richmond Station, which has just had many of its 1930s Art Deco features restored. Let's take a stroll to one of the finest views in London, on Richmond Hill. All that greenery in front of us, there's still about 5 miles of London in that direction. It's easy to take for granted just how green this city can be. There are a few places where that's more apparent than Richmond Park. It's like somebody's plonked open country into the middle of the city. The most famous residents of Richmond Park have to be the red and fallow deer, whose grazing helps keep the grassland clear. Now obviously, as soon as I wrote into the script that I was going to be talking about the deer, they all clubbed together and decided they were going to hide today when I am trying to find them to film. So you're going to have to use your imagination, but to help out, if you've never seen a deer before, they're kind of like 4 legs,
Why
right?
am I doing this?
A bit like that, ish, and then, well, what size is a deer?
Am I old enough for a midlife crisis?
And naturally, about 5 minutes after I filmed that, I found some deer. So the whole thing was moot, really, wasn't it? And if you're bringing any 4-legged friends, make sure they're safely on the lead. Otherwise, you might run off and the dog's going to be left really embarrassed. Look through the telescope on King Henry's Mound and you'll see a familiar sight, although I do recommend using your own eyes to see it because it's surprisingly tricky to see it through a camera. Well, that brings me to the end of a journey through a selection of London's remarkable green spaces. It's really reminded me of the immense power of antihistamines. I could not have done this without you. Yeah, alright, you helped too.